Hello and welcome back to Matplotlib for Python developers. In today's video, the first of section 3, we're going to take a high-level look at the components that make up a Matplotlib video. Over the course of section 3, we're going to take a look at all of the components that go into a Matplotlib figure. We're going to look at the figure and axes objects, the two highest level objects in a Matplotlib plot. We're going to see how to use transformations to go between the different coordinate systems in a Matplotlib plot. Finally, we're going to take a look at how to deeply control the axes and the ticks and see how backends are actually used to display the plots that we generate. In today's video, we're going to take a look at all of the components that live within a Matplotlib plot to actually make the thing up. In this video, we're going to go over each of these components and also talk a little bit about the nesting hierarchy of a Matplotlib figure, how all of these components connect to one another. This classic Matplotlib plot, called the anatomy of a figure, could be found in the Matplotlib documentation. I've modified it slightly here to show the things that we've gone over already in past videos, labeled here in blue, the things that we're going to talk about in this section, labeled in red, and that final grid that we'll talk a little bit more about in the next series of videos. The big components that we're going to focus on in the next couple videos are the figure object, which ultimately contains all of the components seen within a plot. All of the axes, all of the lines and markers, any images, the legends, the type, literally everything within a Matplotlib plot is ultimately contained within this figure object. You might think, however, that the axes object is actually what contains the interesting stuff, because the axes object is what contains the actual plot itself. Each figure contains between 0 and as many as you want, 0 or more axes objects, and each of these axes objects are ultimately the plots themselves. So the axes object, which is held by the figure object, is where all of the lines, the markers, the labels, the ticks, and so on actually live. Aside from a few figure scale annotations, most of the interesting stuff within a Matplotlib plot lives within this axis object. The figure hierarchy really is quite simple. You have a figure object. Contained within that figure object is, in a useful plot at least, between one or more axes objects. And then that axes object has all of the little details that actually make up the plot, the visual stuff that you're looking at. You can think of the figure and the axes objects as containers for all of the visual elements that ultimately make up a plot.